pictures. Some pictures on the screen. Teacher Bruno, if you're there, please help us.
One moment.
To screen the picture. Oh, thank you, Teacher Bruno. So today we are continuing with the lessons, the feelings, the subject matter, and also the speaker. But our main emphasis is on lessons. And as we're going to learn, for Teacher Bruno to help us screen our first pictures, be ready to describe what is happening in those pictures. But as we wait for Teacher Bruno, let me ask a question. Have you ever stayed? Okay, he's here. Let's have the screen. The one lesson I've learned during these online lessons is being patient, or patience pays. Patience pays.
That's the slide that you want.
Yes, please.
Are these the slides?
Okay, thank you, Teacher Deborah. Okay. Yes. Yes, thank you, Teacher Deborah. Now, girls, let's look at those pictures properly. 1 second, and then we try to describe what is happening in those pictures. Can I have only 3 people to describe what is happening in the pictures?
Have you ever stayed with a lazy person? Yes, Janelle.
I want you to describe the pictures. First, the pictures. Can we describe the pictures? Anyone describing? I've lost people. Can someone hear me?
Yes, teacher, we can.
We can hear you.
We can hear you, teacher.
Okay, now let me have someone to describe at least one picture.
Okay, I'm going to pick the hands. Anyone? Okay, Atukunda Vanessa.
For me, in this second picture, I see like a person sleeping with, I think, a donut on his hand and also 2 donuts on his stomach. Probably he like slept, he's sleeping, and then maybe like the mother's told him maybe go pick this, and he's like, can someone else do it? Yeah, for me, that's what I think.
That's correct, thank you. Yes, and be careful of people who say, can someone do this? Can someone else do that? They are all lazy people. Another
okay.
one, and we go to Irene.
Akampurira Masi. Akampurira.
Yes, Masi.
Masi.
Can we have someone else?
And have see Mugabe. Someone. I think that person is sleeping.
Okay, thank you, Masi. Mugabe. Mugabe Michelle.
I want to describe the first picture. So what I can see is a woman, should I say reprimanding her husband who is having a hangover.
Okay. Okay, and she's wondering what sort of a person would sleep with food, with what, in a chair at that age, maybe. The last one. Because we said three. Okay, we can continue. And we have two questions there. You can choose one to answer. Anyone can choose one to answer. That's okay? So you can pick on one and you answer. We are going to have 5 people. Choose on one and answer it. Yes, teacher Irene.
Okay. Okay. Daniela Nachambade.
Part A, have you ever stayed with a lazy person? Yes, I have.
Another one.
Should I answer
You
part
can
B?
decide to answer both. Yeah. Yes.
Part B, describe the character of a lazy person you have ever seen. A lazy person wakes up at any time, and they wake up at any time like as if they don't have anything to do the whole day. That is laziness.
Thank you. Let's have
They
another one.
never work. They always ask somebody else to do everything. They're always lazy. All they only want is to sit in the couch and just look at everything come to them.
Okay, thank you, Daniela. Let's have another one, another person.
Okay. Betty
You
Nashiria.
answer both questions.
Betty Nashiria.
Please switch off the music and the video, whatever it is.
Okay.
Shireen, can we have someone else?
We can have kind of Burunji, Davina. Davina.
Have you ever stayed with a lazy person? Yes. Describe the character of a lazy person you have ever seen. A lazy person is always procrastinating.
Yes. Tremolai. Okay, let's have someone else. Can we have someone else? And I'm going to stop at because time is not on our side.
Okay, Angela Ikiriza.
Can we have someone else?
Okay, a lazy person will never carry out their duties with passion and will never do it like to perfection. Yeah. And just as the previous speaker has said, they're always procrastinating. And if they're to ever do something, they won't do it properly because they feel they don't have the time, and the time that they have is mostly for resting. Yeah.
It's for resting, it's for themselves, and they always think they're perfect. Thank you. The last one.
Okay, the
Shireen.
last one is Chirabo Hope.
Have I ever stayed with a lazy person? Yes. Describe the characteristics of a lazy person you've ever seen. Lazy people like to eat what they have not worked for. Like they like receiving things, but they don't like going through the process to get those things. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think most of us have encountered lazy people. We have seen lazy people. We have stayed around lazy people, and sometimes must act lazy at a given time. All of us, because we are human. But we just need to be corrected and etc. Okay. Right now, we have a poem there. We have a poem there, and Teacher Irene is going to take us through the poem. Teacher Irene is going to take us through the poem. But for that, let's Teacher Irene, I think, get for us 3 people to read the poem. Thank you, Teacher Deborah. Teacher Irene,
Okay.
before you begin.
Yes. Yes, Teacher Prosi.
Yes. Can we have some people to read for us the poem, The Lazy
Oh.
Man?
Okay. Let's have Nalubega Esther.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, thank you, Nalubega.
The poem is entitled The Lazy Man. Teacher, is the beginning on the left side or the right side?
The right hand side, the left hand side, sorry.
Okay.
The left hand side, the left.
Therefore, when the cock crows, the lazy man smacks his lips and says, "So it is daybreak again, is it?" And before he turns over heavily, before he even stretches himself, before he even yawns, the farmer has reached the farm. The water carriers arrive at the river. The spinners are spinning their cotton. The weaver works on his cloth, and the fire blazes in the blacksmith's hut. The lazy man knows where the soup is sweet. He goes from house to house. If there is no sacrifice today, his breastbone will stick out. But when he sees the free yam, he starts to unbutton his shirt. He moves closer to the celebrant, yet his troubles are not few. When his wives reach puberty, rich men will help him to marry them. Nigeria.
Okay, thank you so
Wow,
much.
thank you so much.
Can I pick another person to read the second time?
Yes, please.
Okay, we can have Katusime Grace.
The lazy man. When the cock crows, the lazy man smacks his lips and says, "So it is daybreak again, is it?" And before he turns over heavily, before he even stretches himself, before he even yawns, the farmer has reached the farm. The water carriers arrive at the river. The spinners are spinning their cotton. The weaver works on his cloth, and the fire blazes in the blacksmith's hut. The lazy man knows where soup is sweet. He goes from house to house. If there is no sacrifice today, his breastbone will stick out. But when he sees the free yam, he starts to unbutton his shirt. He moves closer to the celebrant. Yet his troubles are not few. When his wives reach puberty, rich men will help him to marry them. Yoruba, Nigeria.
Thank you so much. So let me give chance to Teacher Irene to take us through the questions of the poem. Yes, Teacher Irene.
Okay, thank you so much, Teacher Prosi, for that presentation. And at least we have understood and realized how lazy people behave, okay, since we've ever stayed with such. And still, even though they are out there, there is something we can do to help them out, because we wouldn't want to stay with lazy people. And our poem has really stated out how lazy people behave. We've already seen that, okay? So we are going to look at those questions and we see how we can ably attempt them just in case they are set in our exams. Okay, a reminder, our focus, we are supposed to know that whenever you've been asked a question in literature, it is always important for you to back it up with illustrations from the poem. That is very, very important. Any statement you mention, make sure that you give an illustration from the poem. That is important. So we have our number one, or part A, and it states, what is the poem about? What is the poem about? Who is speaking in the poem? What are your feelings towards the lazy man? Mention the lessons learned from the lazy man. Then what aspects in the poem are also evident in your community? What makes that poem interesting? Those are the questions we have today. So I think we shall go back to the poem so that people, you can really know as we answer these questions. Okay, so we have our poem there, and our first question is, what is the poem about? We've already read the poem. We've read it again. We are putting the title, The Lazy Man, in consideration because the title says a lot. It gives us a hint of what the poem is about. Okay, so let's not underestimate the title. So who can help us answer number one, what the poem is about? Teacher Prosi, is it okay if you help us take the hands? Okay.
Sorry, let's have a D4 crown.
Okay, teacher. Question 1 says, what is the poem about? The poem is about a lazy man, because the title says the lazy man.
Okay, thank you. Joy,
Okay, thank you.
Mary.
So, teacher Prosi, let me first comment on our default answer. She said that the poem is about a lazy man. Then that is true, yes. But you need to tell us what's happening to the lazy man. It's like someone asking you that, have you ever watched a movie, maybe Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and you say yes. And then someone asks, just tell me, what is it about? And you say, it is about Mr. and Mrs. Smith, full stop. Okay? I think for that, you wouldn't have answered what the movie is about, okay? Because you need to tell us what's really happening in that movie, okay? So the same will apply to our poem. You're telling us the lazy man. Then what is happening to that lazy man? Look at the poem from the beginning up to the end, and you tell us, okay? So if you say the lazy man, you will get a mark, but it will be 1 mark. Yet you might need to give you like 5 marks.
This is 1 cup. I'll be biased.
So can we have one more hand? Chiravo Palhana.
Let's start making.
I think the poem is about the behavior of a lazy man because it talks about how he moves,
Slitters on sand.
how he gets up when everyone has already started.
Hannah Rahuka, mute. Hannah, please mute.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Please come again.
I was saying,
please come.
I think that the poem is about the behavior of a lazy man because it talks about how he gets up when everyone has already gone to work, and also how he moves from house to house. Just
to have something to eat. Thank you. Teacher Irene, can I take one more hand or you continue?
Yes, you can take one more.
Oh,
but Hannah has given us at
let's-
least.
Yeah. Yes, Mirembe Nicole. Mirembe Nicole.
The poem is about how a lazy man conducts himself in comparison with a society.
Let's back it up, please. Okay, thank Teacher Irene. I think those
Because
are
like
enough.
we see how the lazy man wakes up late and he smacks his lip. He smacks his lip saying that it's daybreak again, is it? And before he even yawns or does anything, the farmer is already in his farm, the water carriers already at the river, and other people already doing what they are supposed to do.
Okay, thank you very much, Teacher Irene.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think all your answers are correct, just because we need to make them better. Okay, they are good, but we need to make them better. Now, when you're looking at the subject matter or what the poem is about, make sure that you look at all the words, all the lines in the poem and summarize them in your own understanding. Okay, let's eliminate the use of the actual words as they are used in the poem. But if they say the farmer has reached maybe the farm, the water carriers arrive at the river, the spinners are spinning their cotton, the weaver works on his clothes. Okay, it isn't right for you to state those exact lines in your answer. You summarize them. Maybe the different people have gone to their different activities. For example, the farmers, the blacksmith to do their daily work. That will be better. Okay, so it is important to also look at the entire poem, as I've said. So if I'm to say maybe the poem is about a lazy man who doesn't like to work. Okay. He wakes up late when other people have already gone to their places of work, like the farmers, the blacksmiths. Okay, I'm trying to answer the question what the poem is about, and using my own words. Then you would go ahead and say maybe he moves from house to house in search of what to eat, since he cannot provide something for himself. Okay, are you seeing that? I'm getting it from the lazy man knows where the soup is sweet. He goes from house to house. If there is no sacrifice, his breastbone will be stick out. So what do I get from stick out if there isn't any sacrifice? So maybe he feels he is disappointed whenever there isn't any food in the house he has visited. Okay, something of that kind. So you go ahead to tell us, yet his troubles are not few. When his wives reach puberty, rich men will help to marry them. What do we get from that? Maybe because of his laziness, he won't be able to marry the wives he is meant to marry. We can call it betrothed to. And as a result, the rich men are normally the ones who will come and marry them. Okay, we are using this. I'm giving you this so that you can really know that whenever you're stating the subject matter or what the poem is about, you use your own words wherever you can. And it is also important for you to always look at the poem, do not state the title and you end there. Go ahead and tell us what's happening in the poem. Okay, as I have said, and as most of you have said. Okay, so that will be the subject matter or what the poem is about in simple language. Okay, but of course, trying to summarize the poem. Okay, Jiweji, your hand is up.
Yes.
When we are answering part A, are we supposed to summarize everything in the poem, or we can choose what to summarize?
What I can say, you pick out the important points, okay, from the poem, okay? Pick out the important points from the poem and use your own words to summarize that poem. But make sure that you pick them up to the end, because even the end is very, very important. I always say you're watching a movie and someone someone tells you the summary of the movie and then doesn't tell you the end. You would say, what happened? What happened at the end? You know, do you get the point? So
yes.
As you're summarizing, always make sure that you tell us what's happening, but the ending is also important. Okay? So Chirabo Hope.
Excuse me, teacher.
Chirabo Hope.
Excuse me, teacher. Yes. Teacher, how about if you write your summary and it ends up like filling your whole what the poem is about, and ends up filling 6 lines? Is that fine, or you have to like cut short some words?
If there are 6 lines, those are okay. But if it's a page, then it can't be a page. That wouldn't be right. But if you have 6 lines or even 5 lines, that is okay, but not one sentence or not one line. Okay?
Even 6.
How about if you have 2 lines? Is that fine? What's the minimum number of lines?
Teacher Irene.
Yes?
May I come in a bit?
Okay, thank you.
Girls, this question requires you, in your own words, to tell someone who hasn't read this poem what is in the poem. Okay? So you're not going to quote every line, but you definitely have to tell them the key points therein. Now you have to answer questions like, what is happening? Where? When? Who is involved? Okay? Now you cannot answer such questions in a line or 2. Okay? So if you're going to talk about the person being the lazy man, what this lazy man cannot do, what expectations are, you find yourself writing between 4 to 6 lines minimum. Okay? So you are telling a person about this entire poem in your own words, but not leaving out a single detail. Yet you're not paraphrasing or pasting the poem. So that is what that question requires. And that is why Teacher Irene is talking about the given number of lines, 4, 5, 6, but you can't have 1 and you may not have 2. It means you're leaving out something important.
That is very true. Thank you so much, Teacher Deborah. So that is it for that question. We are emphasizing that question because we are going to be doing poetry. And I know such a question will never miss out, okay? So that's why we need to know how to answer questions to do with what the poem is about. So let's go to the second one, and it says, who is speaking in the poem? Who is speaking in the poem? Sometimes they can say, who is the speaker? Sometimes they can say, who is the persona? They are talking about the same aspect, speaker in the poem. Yes. Yes, Jiwaji. and you always give a reason. Jiwaji, the
I
speaker.
think speaker in the poem is Yoruba from Nigeria because their name is signed after the poem.
Okay, let me first, Jiwaji, who can comment on Jiwaji's answer? Jiwaji has said the speaker is Yoruba from Nigeria. Who can say something about Jiwaji's answer when they say who is speaking in the poem? Someone to comment on that answer.
Yes, teacher.
Queen Esther, I have to pick a person. I have to
Hey,
pick
teacher.
a person. It's me to
Teacher.
pick. Okay, yes, Esther Queen.
I think Yoruba is the one who wrote the poem, and then speaking in the poem is the one like whose words.
Yes, we have lost you, but at least we've got your answer. You've said that Yoruba is the one who wrote. We normally say the poet. So, Jiwaji, let's take it right now. The poet is different from the speaker, okay? Poets use speakers to deliver their message. So if you want to answer the question of the speaker, you ask yourself in the poem, who is communicating to us, to me, the reader? Who is telling me the information in the poem? We are not looking at the speaker, sorry, the poet, Yoruba, but you're reading that poem. And as you're reading, there is someone speaking to you. There is that voice speaking to you. I can be Irene Nambige, who has written a poem entitled Chalk. And then I say, you always use me to write on the blackboard. You use me to, you erase me. I'm always in your classroom. You use me to write on the blackboard. So you're not going to say that the speaker is Irene Nambirige. But as you're reading that poem, you will realize that maybe the chalk is the one telling me, because it is saying you use me to write on the blackboard. So we are not going to say the speaker is the same as the poet. They are completely different. The poet uses the speaker to deliver his message to us, the reader. Jiwaji, have you understood that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So if you have understood, okay, we shall get back to you. Any other person to tell us who the speaker is? Anyima Daniela? Daniela? Okay, Daniela is not there. Pamela Namara?
Teacher, I think that the speaker is a witness to the behavior of the lazy man, because here he talks about all that the lazy man does. So I think he's a witness to the behavior of the lazy man.
Okay, thank you so much. That's one point. You've given us a point, and even the reason as the person who has been there observing the activities or the way the lazy man behaves. Thank you so much. We can have another one. Nadule Rukia.
Teacher, I think the speaker in the poem is one of the community members, because he's saying before he yawns, the farmer has reached to the farm.
Okay, thank you so much. So the speaker can be a community member. The speaker can even be a relative, because that relative is the one who knows the behavior of the speaker when he's still in the bedroom. He yawns, he wakes up. So the speaker can also be a relative, the lazy man, or even a neighbor, or even a witness, or even a community member. That's true. Thank you so much. We can go to the next question. What is our next question? Teacher Debbie.
Excuse me, teacher.
Next question.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes.
How about if you say that the speaker may be a roommate because he sees him moving from place to place in order to look for something to eat?
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So the next question is, what are your feelings towards the lazy man? What are your feelings towards the lazy man? We are looking at the feelings towards the lazy man. Atuhire Audrey.
My feelings towards the lazy man is he is a very big time waster. While other people are doing work, he's busy lying in his bed. And also,
So how do you?
Yes.
So how do you feel when you read this poem and you see the behavior of the lazy man? How does it make you feel?
It makes me feel sad.
Okay, then that's the answer. Okay, so you're saying, so why do you say that it makes you feel sad? Because he sleeps when other people are still have gone to their places of work.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you,
so
teacher, for
you are
correcting me.
you're saddened or you are sad. Okay, so another one is Davina. Davina.
I am disgusted by the lazy man.
Why? Davina, you need to give a reason. Okay, that is very, very important. How we can get another one. You're disgusted by the lazy man because of his behavior and moving from house to house, maybe looking for what to eat instead of providing for himself. We can get another one. Vivian Sandra. Vivian Sandra. Okay, Vivian Sandra is not there. Tamali Tendo. Tamali. Tamali is not there. Oh. Okay, Tamali is not there. Mirembe Emily.
I pity the lazy man, for he will never own anything.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, you can even be angered, you can be bitter, okay, towards the lazy man. Thank you so much for that. So we can go to the next one. Mention the lessons learned from the poem, The Lazy Man. What are your lessons learned
Teacher,
from
can you
this
please go back to
poem?
the slide of the poem? The slide that has the poem. Teacher, can you please go back to the slide that has the poem?
That's where we are. Okay, so the lessons. Disappointed, yes, that's true. You're disappointed because the lazy man is big enough, but he cannot do what he has to do. So the lessons learned. Teacher Deborah talked about lessons and how we can state them using sayings, proverbs, and all that. So let's have some aspects here. Lessons learned from this poem. Adeke Faith.
I learned that hard work pays, because if the lazy man were hardworking, he would not need to move from house to house to look for what to eat.
Okay, thank you so much for that. How we can have another one, Appeal of Grace.
I learned to work hard in order to get my own food.
Okay, in order to work hard, that can be the same as hard work pays. Thank you so much. Emily Nicole. Emily.
Charity begins at home is another lesson I learned from the poem, because the lazy man may have picked his laziness from his parents.
Teacher Irene, are you there?
Oh, sorry. So I was asking that what shows that the lazy man has picked the negative character of being lazy from the parents. So that can be a question posed before us. Okay. We can have Daniela Nachambade. I want to look at people who haven't said contributed. Daniela Nachambade.
Do the right thing at the right time.
An illustration from the poem.
People are working, he's sleeping.
Okay, so it's always important to know when to do what, because the lazy man is still sleeping, yet other people like the farmers have already started work. Thank you so much. We are now learning how to state lessons, and I'm happy. And I know by the time we finish our senior 2, we shall be good girls when it comes to stating lessons. Okay, so you can even say laziness is a bad behavior. Okay, or you reap what you sow. So many lessons we can learn, but we need to make sure and remember that we are supposed to use sayings and proverbs. Thank you so much for that. We can go to another
Excuse
question.
me, teacher. Excuse me, you can't use anything other than those 2 sayings and proverbs only.
Anything like what?
Like, how about if we say that I've learned that since laziness gets you nowhere, can that work, or you only have to use proverbs and sayings?
In most cases, we normally encourage proverbs and sayings right now, okay? Because
Yes.
they normally carry that moral value for us, okay? So I would advise you for now to use proverbs and sayings.
Okay.
Maybe later we can incorporate in other aspects, but for now, let's use proverbs and sayings. Okay, so our next question.
Our next question, that is part E. What aspects in the poem are also evident in our community? What things in the poem are also evident in our community? What is being done in that poem that can be seen also in our community, that can be related to our community? Can I have 4 people? 4 people to give me on some aspects that are in this poem and are also evident in our community. 4 people. Okay. Let me have Queen Esther. Queen Esther.
Teacher,
Yes,
like
Queen Esther.
teacher, farmers waking up early or maybe before the cock crows, they are already working.
In our community, farmers wake up early and go to work, and so in this poem, in this poem, we see that the farmers wake up very early to go and work, and that is can be evident in our community, in that when we are in the village, before 6, everyone has gone. The farmers are up to go and work. Yes, thank you very much. So you're going to get something that is in this poem and can also be related to our community, or is done or is seen in our community. Another one, let me have someone who has not said anything. Let's have Daniela Nachambade.
May I have a question?
Yes, please.
For part E where we
Daniela.
are, what if you say farmers wake up early to go and work? Are the aspects, are you supposed to write a full sentence? Like, for example, farmers wake up early to go to work. Are the aspects in the poem and are also evident in my community? Do we have to make a full sentence or we just state?
They are always full, and in literature, we always make full sentences and explain them according to the poem or according to what is being asked, picking evidence from the poem. Is that okay? So,
yes.
Can I have someone to talk about some other aspects that are in the poem and they are seen in our community? Let me have Chirabo Eunice.
Teacher, how about if you say aspects such as people moving from
You mentioned that aspect, please. Mention it.
Okay. Aspects such as the lazy man moving from house to house for food is also evident in our community since
okay, we can say there the lazy man in this poem moves from home to seek for something to eat without working. And in our community, there are such people like the lazy man, people who wake up in the morning, like to go and pickpocket, to go and just beg without working. For example, you can give an example, as simple as that. So mention the exact thing. People who move, the lazy man moves from house to house, seeking for something to eat without even working. And in our community today, there are people like that who move from one house to another, asking for money to be helped. And if you offer them something to do, they don't want to work. They just want things they just want things to be done for them. And you give an example, any that you know. I know of those people who just pickpocket people's things. Another one? Yes, another one. Can I have one more hand? That is Cynthia. Cynthia, yes, please. Cynthia?
Teacher, can you say that the aspect when the lazy man's wives reach puberty?
Don't mention the aspect. You just speak for me that aspect.
Okay. When the lazy man's wives reach puberty, rich men will help him to marry them. Is also evident in our community because women prefer richer men than.
So the poor man, the lazy man's wives are taken away by the rich people. They help him to marry. They take them on. And this is evident in our community because nowadays girls hate poor men. So they end up, even if a poor man, not a poor man, a lazy man, if someone sees a lazy man they will get out of that relationship quickly and they go to a hardworking person who has some money. Is that okay? The last one, let's have the last one. The last one is Tamari Tendo. And then we go to the next number. Tendo.
Teacher, can you say that just like in my community, just like in the poem, the farmers in my community wake up early to do work?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
To do their work, and then you back it up. Is that okay? In your community, do they wake up early to go and do their farming? So you have to really relate what is happening in the poem to what happens in your community, and you give what happens in the poem and explain it as per poem, and then you try to relate it to what happens in the community plus an example. But if you don't have an example, it can be just inferred to. So let's go to the last question. The last question, what makes this poem interesting? I remember Teacher Teddy, Teacher Deborah taught us things that make the poem interesting. And Teacher Irene also taught us, and I also taught you. Now let's look at, quickly, let's look at 3 or 4 things that make this poem interesting. Let me have Crown. Crown, what makes this poem interesting?
I have a question.
Yes, you can ask.
Okay. In question 2, the question was, who is speaking in the poem? People were saying the person speaking in the poem, maybe. Should we include that maybe?
No, they have to be sure. The person speaking in the poem is a neighbor because he sees and he watches, whatever is happening or the behavior of this person. You have to be sure of your answer. So stop saying maybe, say the person is this and back that person up. So Narule, what makes the poem interesting? I'm going to have Narule because of the time, and then we shall write down the things that make this poem interesting in our book. What
Teacher?
makes this? Yes, Narule.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, please.
Simple language makes this poem interesting because when the lazy man sees the free yam, it is easy to understand.
The simple language makes this poem interesting. The simple English makes this poem interesting. For example, when the says this man, you give an example and you continue. Yes, the simple language. Another one, Mirembe, you're the last one. So we are going to do
the subject matter of this poem makes it interesting.
Okay, but people, let me give you a trick. Let's look at the
subject matter of this poem makes it interesting.
Okay. Now I'm losing you, but let's look at first things first, like the title, the diction, the simple things, and then we go on to the subject matter. Okay, for the sake of time, let's stop there. We can do that work, the last number, part E, in our book. And then remember, we have some exercise or test we have to do next week. So read hard and have a blessed day.
Wait, teacher, are we doing this tight on this poem and the questions you put?
All the questions you should try them in your, you should always do them in your book for easy revision. You never know, that same poem can come next time in an exam. So all the work that is put in Google Classroom, write them in your book properly and answer the questions. Here we've been learning, but now you put down what you have learned. Thank you.